Hello, today we are reviewing the subreddit r/antiwork. It's a little bit harder to describe this subreddit. It really depends on who you ask. So I will show you some examples that hopefully explain that a little bit better. However, we do have the subreddit's about section, which states the following. A subreddit for those who want to end work, are curious about ending work, want to get the most out of a work-free life, want more information on anti-work ideas, and want personal help with their own job/work-related struggles. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Great Resignation, all that news that's going on right now. A lot of that has crossover with anti-work. Let's get right into it. So to be completely clear, this subreddit is pretty large. So I think in order to keep up with this subreddit, I might look at doing something a couple times a week. Okay, so post number 1 titled, "A couple of servers get a large tip and suddenly the tip share policy changes and a server gets fired." This is a screenshot. I am not familiar with the social media platform. I'm sorry that it is posted on. Maybe one of you guys can identify which one it is. I'm not on social media a bunch. Per the post, on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, I was part of a large group, 27-ish people, who gave a $4,400 tip to 2 servers of Oven and Tap in downtown Bentonville, Arkansas. Note, as of this post, the restaurant removed their Facebook page. One of the 2 servers went home sick. The owners of the restaurant were not going to give the sick server her tip of $2,200. Instead, they wanted to split it up among the rest of the staff. For the server who was still there, the owners wanted her to only have 20% of the tip, so only $440, and split the $1,760 with the rest of the staff. The only requirement for sharing tips is 6% to the bar staff and 1% to the food runners, which the server in the photo did. Here's the problem. That is not how the group wanted the tip handled. Our goal was to abundantly bless 2 people. Thankfully, the leader of our group made sure the 2 servers received the full $2,200 tip, each less the 7%. Then it gets worse. Our server was fired. She was fired for disclosing the restaurant's private tip policy. Ironically, the policy before Thursday night was no tip sharing. Suddenly, the policy changed to sharing tips. I would love to hear the owner's side of the story. Thankfully, Grant Wise of Whitley has started a GoFundMe page for our server. Even if you could spare $5, I'm sure our server would be more than grateful. Thank you. I'm just briefly skimming over this, and it is much worse than written in the Reddit post. Friday, Ryan Brandt was one of 2 servers waiting on a party of more than 40 people at Oven and Tap in Bentonville. When it came time to pay the bill, each person left a $100 tip for a collective $4,400 for the 2 waitresses. Quote, "It was an incredible thing to do, and to see her reaction was awesome, to see what that meant for her, the impact that it's had on her life already," says Grant Wise. Wise owns the real estate company, Whitley. He says he called ahead to the restaurant and asked about their tipping policy to make sure everything would go smoothly. But he says things did not go according to plan. Quote, "I was told that I was going to be giving my cash over to my shift manager and I would be taking home 20%, says Brandt. Brandt says the restaurant asked her to share the tip with her coworkers, something she says never happened in the 3.5 years she worked at Oven and Tap. Wise says pulling tips with those who didn't wait on his party was not his intention. He asked the restaurant to return the gratuity and he gave the cash to Brandt outside. Brandt says after that she was fired, leaving her no way to cover her bills. "It was devastating. I borrowed a significant amount for student loans. Most of them were turned off because of the pandemic, but they're turning back on in January, and that's a harsh reality," says Brandt. Brandt says the restaurant told her she was let go because she violated policy by telling Wise about pooling the tips. KNWA asked Oven and Tap if this was true. They declined to talk with us but did provide KNWA with a statement. After dining, this large group of guests requested that their gratuity be given to 2 particular servers. We fully honored their request. Out of respect for our highly valued team members, we do not discuss the details surrounding the termination of an employee. Now, Wise has started an online fundraising campaign to help Brandt out. Anybody else a former waitress or server? If so, can you let me know what your restaurant's policy was? Because the restaurant I worked at, there was no policy about whether or not we could tell customers if our tips were pooled or not. The only real policy that we had about tips was don't mess with the tip receipts and don't beg for tips. I'm also not familiar with the laws in Fayetteville, Arkansas. At least where I am, it is illegal to not give your employees full tips to them or withholding tips. That's actually, yeah, that's a problem. Another thing that stands out to me is trying to withhold your employee tips sounds pretty illegal, at least, where I am. And then firing someone for refusing to let their employee get away with something illegal, it sounds pretty sketchy. And I don't know, my first thing would be, look into whether or not that counts as retaliation. On one hand, I can understand how the restaurant would want their other employees to get treated, but if they're not serving that party, I don't understand where that entitlement from management comes from. If my coworkers had some really good luck and had some fat tips one night, like, I'd be a little bit jealous, of course, but there's no way I would try and get in on that. That's their earned money. Okay, just out of curiosity, I googled the place and oh no, they got review bombed. They're currently at 1.4 stars on Google. Okay, I pulled up the reviews, and first review that popped up for me was a 2-star review that mentions a caterpillar crawling out of the food. That's from a month ago, so that's before all this. Okay, I decided I'm just gonna move on to the next one before this is like a 20-minute video on that and how disgusting that business is. But yeah. Please be nice to your waitstaff this season. Actually, no, just be nice to them all the time, please. Thanks. Oh, hey, speaking of crappy restaurant management, this next post is a screenshot of a text. It looks like it's sent out to a work group. This post is titled, CEO sent this to the restaurant team. Hello, staff. Everyone is to clock out at their scheduled time. Additional hours will not be paid and staff will be written a violation. Any authorized overtime starts after your regular week schedule hours. There will not be fractions of overtime hours. Please take immediate notice. Blank accounting. No conditions is anyone permitted to clock out beyond their scheduled time. Again, friends who have ever worked in a restaurant, I think our top comment here has it best explained. I mean, the head boss said it. Get up and walk away from what you're doing and clock out. They don't pay and you don't work. Keep a record of that email. Hope they fire you for not working for free. My scheduled times, I have left hours after them many times just because you can't anticipate when a party is gonna leave. I've had people hang out in my section like an hour after closing. I can't tell the guests to leave. Like, that's gonna get me in more trouble than staying later and getting some overtime. I wonder how this would actually be handled though, because the request to accounting says no conditions is anyone permitted to clock out beyond their schedule time. Are they helping employees get out on time, or are they instead just altering timesheets? It's kind of a risky thing to send over text, paper trail and all. I think the moral of this story would be just pay your employees for the time they worked. Simple as that. And I guess if you're not going to do that, then you can at least keep sending the stuff over text so they have a paper trail. This next post is sadly relatable. Let me know if it is for you too. It is titled, Work is telling me that it's a fireable offense if you talk about wages or any union stuff while on the clock. For reference, I work in a hospital. Holy crap, there's a lot of information provided by OP. Okay, let's go and just start with the main post. This is a little out of order because of the way they updated it, so please bear with me. Updated. Like the title says, I told them that's illegal, and they responded with, no it's not. Is this true? I highly doubt it. Anyone want to chime in on this? For reference, I work in a hospital. Side note, I'm not surprised. Update edit, December 6th. Okay, so I took some of your advices and I went ahead and emailed this particular supervisor asking to point out the policy that says that we can't talk about union stuff. So, union stuff on the clock or our wages. She replied today. Here it is. And I went ahead and looked up the source that she is pinpointing, and I'm honestly confused. Here's that source. I had another EVS person come up to me and said that she went to the union to verify the gravity of what the manager said. They said she can't do that, it's illegal, so the union says it's illegal. Then I looked up the source that she claims that said we can't do that. It doesn't even look like it says anything about whether we can't or not. Maybe I'm not understanding this correctly. Can anyone else chime in on this to make sure I or we understand this correctly? Yes, that is a very easy answer. If you are in the US, it is 100% illegal to threaten to fire you for discussing your wages or talking about a union. Do employers still do it all the time? Yes, absolutely. One of my jobs a couple years ago, it was actually in the interview that the store manager asked me if I was okay with this policy they had. The policy was that it was against their rules to discuss wages with other employees and that it's a fireable offense. And being desperate for work and money, I agreed to it. It was a red flag. There were a lot of bad things about that particular job. Go figure. Okay, I'm now looking at the screenshots provided by OP and what kind of petty shit. Article 3.1, access to premises. This is the portion referenced by the person OP supposedly spoke to about the issue. I'm looking at the article section mentioned by that person, and it looks like it only discusses union employees or a union group not being allowed to gather in regular employee areas. It specifically says union staff shall not have access to employees' lounges, nursing units, or other patient care areas unless advance approval has been obtained from the Vice President of Human Resources or designee. Keep in mind, this is specifically in reference to union meetings. That's how I at least interpreted it. Access to the employer's premises shall be the subject of the same general rules applicable to other non-employees and shall not interfere with or disturb employees in the performance of their work during working hours and shall not interfere with or provide any distraction to patient care, patient families, or the normal operation of the hospital. I'm not seeing anything about not being able to discuss any union stuff or wages. Again, to me, it just reads like unions aren't allowed to gather in employee areas without HR approval. Looks like they also have more evidence of the email from their supervisor with that section or referring to that section. Again, I'm going to say, moral of the story is treat your employees right, follow laws, and if you're not going to do that, then keep doing so over text or email, because we love a paper trail. Okay, so this is going to be the final Reddit post that we review, and then I have a little treat after this one for you guys. General manager publicly disrespects/insults staff on local Facebook group while explaining why her business is short-staffed. It's a screenshot on Facebook, and it says the following in a comment. Oh, we're really hiring and we're putting in 50 plus hours to try and take care of our customers. We're overworked and understaffed, and trust me when I tell you, I don't use anything as an excuse for poor customer service. I tell the truth about a generation who has no work ethic whatsoever. They don't want to be held accountable and they are disrespectful. You cannot pay people to care. They either do or they don't, and I find on most days that they just don't. It's sad and I'm at a loss for words on most days. And I'm stuck getting a huge chunk of my check taken to pay for those stimulus checks that were sent out and child tax credits and huge amounts of food stamps being passed out. If you're looking for a job, I'm hiring, and I have had to hire some real life characters just to try and fill my schedule, and they still call in all the time for the most ridiculous things you wouldn't believe even if I told you. Tell me you're a shitty boss without telling me you're a shitty boss. For real though, way to call yourself out on Facebook like that. Comment in the screenshot says, wow, if you talk about your staff like this in a public forum, I can't imagine how you must speak to them in private. People who complain about where their tax money goes, yeah, that's a whole different story, but come on, man, we all pay taxes. I'm not complaining about my share of taxes going to a bunch of useless shit. I am more than fine with portions of my taxes being used to help people during the pandemic especially. I like one of the comments. You cannot pay people to care. Oh, bet you can. That's true. If you pay enough, anyone can care. Someone else said, name and shame. Oh my gosh. OP actually did it. General manager of a Whataburger? Really? This is all over a Whataburger? Okay, that's okay. I'm not surprised, but you know, it's like my husband's favorite place. That is too bad. Why is it always freaking fast food people that have like something to prove to the world? Those of you listening who used to or currently work fast food, you probably know what I'm talking about. I don't understand some of the managers. That is ridiculous. 50 hours? Are you kidding me? Why are you complaining about that? I worked 40 hours when I was 16 in fast food. Insulting the generation that probably makes up the majority of your applicant pool, it seems like a bad move. Oh, there's another comment or update from OP. And now she has deleted her comment. I wonder if the screenshot I sent to corporate asking if this is how their leadership should be speaking to their staff had anything to do with it. Oh, I hope they did. While browsing my LinkedIn feed, I found a pretty interesting discussion taking place. For those of you who aren't familiar with Dan Price, he's this really popular CEO or public figure. Dan Price is best known as the CEO that raised the minimum pay of all employees in the company, minimum, to $70,000 a year. He's known as like the super generous dude. He's very popular on LinkedIn. I follow him, whatever. So one of his posts showed up in my feed, and what would you know? You look at the comments, And we have a CEO commenting, you guys. Full disclosure, I looked at the post again and I believe she deleted her comment because she was getting called out, but I do have screenshots. Prepare your eyes for this level of fuckery. So Dan Price posted something, the minimum wage in his company is $70,000 a year with paid parental leave, full healthcare benefits, paid time off, and they allow everyone to work remotely. We have received 25,400 applications for 72 jobs this year. There's no labor shortage. There's a shortage of jobs that treat people with respect, which I 100% agree with. I've noticed that a lot of these companies that treat their employees really well or have reputations for doing so, they have no issues with staffing. They're not like desperately throwing out job ads left and right. Meanwhile, the same crappy jobs that have been refusing to change their standards, I've seen them hiring for the past 2 years pretty much. Dan is not the crappy CEO in this scenario, no. As you can see in this screenshot, comment that came up as most relevant that showed up right in my feed before I can even expand on the post caught my attention. This woman, who according to her profile is the founder/CEO at No Baked Cookie Dough. Oh no. There may not be a shortage of labor in corporate positions. There 100% is one in the service industry. We have physical locations of our dessert company, and our staff members make $22+ an hour with flexible schedules. Even with that being the case, it's difficult to find people to hire or even get people to apply for these positions now. When people refer to the labor shortage, they're not referring to the cushy corporate jobs that you're referencing here. Our man David here is a real one. It's probably also difficult to get people to apply when you have no jobs listed anywhere and your careers page says, "Send us an email and we'll keep your application on file in case a need comes up in the future." That is so embarrassing. Here's a screenshot I got of the company website. As you can see, the careers page. Join our team. Please email their email with your resume and the type of position you are looking for. We'll keep your application on file in case a need comes up in the future. We can't wait to hear from you. They don't even have jobs posted. I looked elsewhere online. I like Indeed. I don't know, Snagajob, but that didn't come up when I looked for the stuff. When I looked up careers or jobs for this company, this page showed up. I think they also have like a category on their LinkedIn, but there was nothing posted there either. I don't know what she's expecting when they don't even have a proper careers page set up. I'm not shocked that her comment got deleted or she deleted it because she was getting called out. When I took these screenshots, there was only a handful of people that were commenting. By the time I last checked it, there were like maybe closer to 20 people calling her out. And then I checked it again and it was gone. But the audacity. Of course, it's these people complaining about a labor shortage that don't even have their own shit together. Quick disclosure, please don't go harassing anybody. This is purely to poke fun at, Clearly, she got called out repeatedly on her own goddamn comment. So let's just leave it at that. I just realized this is really long, so I think I'm gonna end it here. If you watched all of this, thank you for watching. Let me know your feelings. And if you have your own experiences, or if you came across something similar to what I did on LinkedIn, feel free to share it. This stuff honestly gives me a little bit of life after a long day of soul-crushing work. Oh, and I totally didn't discuss it earlier, my bad, but yeah, this is just one of the mindsets for anti-work. In the next video, I'll make sure to cover the other popular mindset of anti-work, and it's not as fun, but I think it's still important to discuss. Thanks again for watching, have a good one, and stay safe.